And a very good evening, everybody, and a very warm welcome to a very special Lyceum evening this evening, coming to you from the Paul Spiritualist Church on the south coast of the UK. We have, wow, I have just, when Minister Jackie agreed to come on tonight, I was just bowled over because I know, Jackie, you're an incredibly busy person. Not only working on platform and within churches and centres, but also in your role as the president of the SNU. So thank you so much for finding this time to talk with us tonight.
Oh, my pleasure. Thank you for asking me.
Absolutely wonderful. Now, one question everybody always likes is, how did your pathway start within the movement of spiritualism?
Oh, gosh. Where do you begin with that? I was actually raised a Catholic. I lost my parents at a very young age, come from a very dysfunctional family. And when my sister was around the age of 19, she said, my younger sister, obviously, she said to me, "Where do you think Mum and Dad are? Shall we go to the spook church to find out?" I turned up at the local spook church. She never came. And she's never been in a spiritualist church yet. But I found it really engaging. I found it almost addictive to a point. And so that's where my journey began into spiritualism, though my training was in Christian spiritualism. And then I decided that the philosophy and principles of SNU spiritualism suited me a little bit better. So,
yeah, wonderful. Tonight's topic, we're talking about the challenges we face as spiritualists. Mm-hmm. And just there, that was really interesting because it does highlight the individuality within our movement. It does allow that shift from the Christian spiritualist to the SNU spiritualist or to the independent spiritualist. It's very much a matter of where people can find their peace.
That's right.
Their connection. And as I say, when talking on tonight's topic, the challenges, maybe first of all, we would focus on some of the benefits and some of the just absolute joys of our movement. Because sometimes we live a little bit too much on social media and it's very easy to be quite negative, isn't it? I always call negativity a lazy energy because it requires little effort. It requires a little bit more effort to find the positive. But we've got this rich, wonderful, beautiful religion. And I really mean that. I'm not following a script. To me, it's everything. And you're the same. You just want people to really open their eyes and really grasp it and really understand it and see it in its full beauty and glory. Sometimes that doesn't happen.
Well, I also think that people don't take the time to understand spiritualism. They're too focused on one aspect, which is mediumship. And, you know, I said this earlier, I lost my parents at a very young age. I've had, from a very young age, a knowledge of death because everybody decided to die in my family when I was born. They must have thought, wow, Jackie's here, we'll go. Our freedom. But you see, spiritualism didn't just give me the evidence of where they were. Spiritualism taught me about me. Spiritualism and its teachings taught me about the power of my own spirit now. And it didn't just focus on death. But now we seem to be in this loop of, you're a spiritualist, so you're a medium. You're a medium, you can give a message. Well, no, it's a slice of the cake, but it's not the whole cake, you know? Right. And I think we've lost that and we need to find it again quickly.
Very true. Very, very true. I've been working very much on the language that we use at times, because I think part of the issues is we, as people in charge of churches and centres, are part of the issue. We've created some of these problems where the dependency is evolving on a message, and Spirit do not want you dependent on getting a message. You know, the message is pure and simple. We live on forever. So what are you going to do about it? So, you know, we need probably, in my estimation, to look at some of the language we use. And when we talk about mediums, I tend to say our evidential mediums, our philosophical mediums, to start to give people more idea of this cake that you refer to, you know, because there is so much more. And
well, sorry.
No?
I was just going to say there's 2 points to that. First, if I may, there was once a bit of research or a survey done by Warwick University many, many years ago. And they asked people, why do you go to a spiritualist church? The obvious answer came first: to find out where my loved ones are. Great. Once you've got your evidence, why do you go back? And they said for the philosophy and the teachings. But what do we really promote? We help people to become addicted to the message.
Yeah.
And we forget to show them that we are a thinking religion where we probe life's most important questions. We have, or should have, answers where other religions shy away from answering because they're too difficult or too controversial. That's not what our pioneers ever wanted. Our pioneers wanted us to face these questions and to give the answers that the Spirit wanted to give. But, you know, as I keep saying, the medium and the mediumship is sexy at the moment. Everybody wants to do that. And nobody wants to know about the philosophy and the teachings.
Yeah, I'm pleased to say, actually, the tide is starting to turn. I was talking just before we came on about seeing green shoots. And I'm seeing courses now being run about healing, about philosophy, about self-awareness to build upon. And the interest is starting to build in those departments. We've got Len Tatt down next year. And already his workshop is half subscribed without it even being advertised. So there is this encouragement, but I feel like it's going to be water on stone, and maybe not in this generation to see it come really to the fruition of the potential. I love potential. That's my favorite thing. I see potential in everything and everyone.
Well, that's really good. What do we say that spiritualism is? We say it is a progressive movement. I don't believe that, because I don't think we've progressed very much in the last century, and we haven't certainly moved very far. We use language that are the trappings from orthodoxy. And what I'm saying to the churches that I come across is, you know, we've had the pandemic, have we not, of COVID? The pandemic we now have is loneliness and mental health.
Yeah.
Our churches have the perfect recipe to help that. Meditation, quiet time, social time. And I'm saying to those churches, and some do, some are great and have been very proactive, but open your doors not for mediumship, but so people can come into a safe space and have a meditation, have a coffee and cake, have time where they're not alone. But it is slow. Some, like I say, have engaged with that, but mediumship is what everybody wants.
Yeah, yes. I see a little bit of a tide turning there, because I'm quite active talking with fellow mediums around the country and in Europe. And a lot of them have been reporting of late that demonstration evenings are getting more and more difficult. We're certainly not getting the numbers we were pre-COVID, but even now there is a decline. And that says to me a little bit that people are going, okay, I've got the message. So, and this is where we need to be able to provide, you got the message, so what do you want to learn? We offer this, we offer that. I love the thing there about opening the churches, because we run a bereavement group here once a month. And that's immensely popular, because it's not only giving people that space and that security of everybody, no matter when the bereavement was, but there is also the crossover between our spiritual practices and what people are saying and trying to understand things. So yeah, our churches and centres, to me, should always be a big star in the community.
Without doubt. And again, I don't mean to be negative. I just see, because I am a church medium, I'm very proud of that. I do see where we let ourselves down. And part of that, it has to be said, is that we have become very insular. We wait for people to come to us. We don't go out to them. And, unless we are brave enough to say, here we are, this is what we have for you, then we're going to die. And that's the sad truth.
Yeah.
And, I am praying that we can find a resurgence almost. If a quote, I got sent this, and I'm trying to remember desperately who sent me it, but it was a post in a newspaper. And it said, the reporter said, I can go to my Catholic church at the end of the road and it's empty. I can go to the Buddhist centre across the road and it's packed to capacity. What's the difference? And his reply to himself was, the Catholic Church is not changed in hundreds of years. No. It's still the same pattern of service. Buddhism doesn't sell you Buddhism. It sells you self-development and self-awareness. And you learn Buddhism as you're learning about you. And that, for me, is what spiritualism is. We've given you the evidence that your loved ones are alive. Now let's look at the rest of that cake. Let's look at what we can teach you about you and show you you have that strength within you to survive this life. And we're here to support you on that journey.
Yeah, beautifully put, and so true. A recent address that I was inspired to do was the message of the message. And it was talking about that. Once we've had that evidence, it's the invitation, is Spirit offering that handshake and the ways and means of following that through. We do see a very different world, and I do realise and sympathise with a lot of churches and centres that are struggling to get workers and volunteers, because sadly this is a fact of this new world that we didn't want, but we're here. So let's make the most of it. So, as I say, the community aspect to me in a church is a vital ingredient. And you said something, that's why I give you the thumbs up, because for years we've been saying, how do we get more people into our church? Well, my slant on that is, how do we go out and reach more people? Lovely Jack, who's in the room tonight from Denmark, his organisation, they organise talks in local coffee shops, which I think is an amazing idea.
Yeah, fantastic.
Yeah.
But you see, during the last winter, when we had the fuel crisis, which is obviously still going on, I said, well, let's ring fence 75 grand. So every church would get a small amount of money. But in return, I asked the churches to open up their doors as warm spaces for the community. Now, there was a church in Wales that did that. I mean, other churches did too. You know, there was quite a few who took up the challenge, but this particular church in Wales, in North Wales, they did that. And now they have a whole new congregation coming in.
Exactly.
People who wouldn't come in beforehand, who've come in, they've seen what's behind them spooky doors, liked what they've seen, and now come back. You know, and it's little things. It's saying, just come and have a look. No mediumship, nothing. Just come for a chat. Let's get you through the doors. And to do that, like you said about the guy in Denmark, we have to meet them halfway. You know?
Yeah, we do. I'm being talked in to hold a knit and natter morning here.
Yeah.
And I had no idea what a knit and natter morning is. Now I found out what it is. I'm like, why did I say yes? But never mind. It will again provide that community hub for people to join together, because we are hubs.
We are.
Well, we should be hubs, and we do need to be recognised within the community. A lot of our charity work here is local charity based.
Mm-hmm.
I know there are huge charities that are doing sterling work, but we've got charities right on our doorstep.
Mm-hmm.
And what we do is we adopt 2 or 3 for the year, so any fundraising will be divvied up amongst them.
Wow.
And it just keeps, you know, that name is going out there. Then people are hearing this name of Paul Church and going, what is that? What's that about then? But also, it is part of our philosophy to help each other.
Absolutely. And not to be that insular that we cut ourselves off from our life force, which is the community. And, you know, there's various things there we can do, but you mentioned church centre. And there's a bit of a, how do I put it, trend at the moment where I've got churches saying to me, we're going to change our name from church to centre to get more people in. And I'm saying to the ones who've done that, are you getting more younger people in then? And they're going, no. And why is that? We don't know. Because you can change the title on the can, but if it's the same taste when you open the can, nothing's going to go any different. So it doesn't matter what the name, whether it's Hub, Church, Centre, if you are not meeting the needs of the community once they get through that door. And we've got to look at that. What does our community need? I said to you earlier, your community's needs will be very, very different from my community's needs. And each church has to cater for their own individual communities. We've got to be proactive in doing that. We've got to show the world we're here instead of hiding behind our locked doors, you know.
Very true. I'm not having a dig, but I'm with you on that changing of the name, because one thing that always struck me as slightly, I don't know the right word to say it, would be you see a church convert to a centre and they would celebrate that by holding a divine service with 2 ministers taking the service. And I just used to think,
Exactly.
I'm not sure about that.
No, I do have to be honest. I am a traditionalist. I love our hymns and I love prayer. Yeah. It is part of me. However, I also see that, I said this to you, a lot of the language we use is a hangover from the Orthodox times when all of our mediums and church presidents came from Orthodox religions. So they brought the language with them. And I'm not saying a radical change, but I am saying let's try and soften it.
Yeah.
So young people don't get scared off that. It's just another church that's going to preach at us and tell us what to do. Because that's how they see us.
Yeah. And also maybe try running hand in hand with the nod to the orthodoxy, because we are a church. we have a divine service, and this is not a brag or an exaggeration. We average 45 to 50 people every week, which is, I know, very good compared to a lot of other places. But there is also that band of people that will not come into, they see the word church and they will not come in. I understand that, but I'm not going to drop the church in the hope that these people may come in, because you know what people are like, they're very quick to tell you why they can't do something and maybe a little bit slower in actually doing it. So,
but I still question, would they come in if you changed it to centre or hub? Would they?
I agree. And as I say, you're looking at a duality then coming in, because there's some amazing speakers who have come to the fore over the last few years who give different slants on spiritual, different approach roads to it. We've got a chap down this way at Portsmouth, Stephen Mager, and he's a young fella, and his approach is not orthodoxy at all. He is very much talking today's language. So, you know, have a special time and just say, right, well, we are going to aim for a different market, to use a business term, and make sure our marketing is out there. So, I mean, most towns and cities have got a bigger university with maybe resident. What are we doing for, just up the road here, there's a tower block, which is all students. And I often ask myself, what are we doing to reach them as well as the people we already serve?
Yeah. And I said this again in Wales. I said to the church I was in, you've got a university right on your doorstep. Get along to their Freshers Week, their open day.
Yep.
Show them we're here. But we've got to have something that draws them in, you know.
Yeah.
And that isn't always the Lord's my shepherd and a prayer. You know, there's got to be something else. No disrespect to either of what I've just said, but there has to be something else, you know. But we've got to know our communities. And I feel personally, and this is a very broad statement, I know there'll be churches going, not our church, but a lot of our churches have lost touch with the community they serve. And they've got to find that touch again. You know, we're in a diverse, multicultural, multigender society. We've got to cater, you know.
Yeah.
And, you know, going back to philosophy in a different land, because I love philosophy. I do. And I think it is that and healing are the jewels in the crown of spiritualism. I really do. But I know a medium who told me he was stopped on a church because he was talking about Brexit and the impact it was going to have on the brotherhood of man. And he was told to stop and not mention politics from the platform. And he wasn't mentioning politics. He was talking about a world event that was going to affect people all over the world, you know. And we've got very narrow-minded people who feel that they can dictate what is said from the platform. And I worry. I just worry that that freedom of spirit that we always had is now very much censored.
I agree totally. I do find quite a common energy, sadly, amongst many committees and way churches run is a fear-based thing. Because we have this system of where people are voted in to run a church, and with all the greatest respect, everybody who volunteers their time, what services, whatever, absolute hats off to them. Maybe you've never had that experience of managing an environment like that, so naturally it would follow that I'm not going to do anything, because if I don't do anything, I'm not doing anything wrong. I get that. I really get that.
There is not another religion in this world that can boast the use of volunteers like we do. Yeah. But I was speaking to Matthew Mould about this, and he's onto this. He's doing his best to change it. No other religion or business would say, okay, Lawrence, you're going to be president. Get on with it.
Yeah.
and
I
leave
agree.
sink or swim. So Matthew's in the middle of doing videos to put out there to churches for secretaries, treasurers, you know, to just give them some support and to say you don't have to do this on your own. There's a rule book, follow it, and if you don't follow it, you'll be in trouble.
Mm.
You know, it's like, well, where else would do that? You know.
Yeah.
So it's a big culture change. It really is. Because I am so grateful to our volunteers. I really am.
Yes, and exactly the same here at Poole. I've got the best volunteers. I'm sorry.
I really get that.
But the culture here at Poole is we've got a very small committee. In fact, we're just nearly there at becoming a CIC Foundation charity. But we allow the people in the church to contribute, because there are so many. I've just had one of the ladies of the church is into marketing, and she's just looked through our online marketing, both on social media and our website, and done a report for, you know, because she comes to the church and she wants to give back. People on the doors, and this is sometimes, and this was here in Poole before I took over. You know, somebody said, "Oh, I'll go in the kitchen and help dry up." No, you can't go out there unless you're on the committee. And I'm like, "You really need to be on the committee to operate a tea towel?" I just don't get this.
Oh gosh. But you see, again, my son said the same. He said, you know what gets me, Mum? Though my son's only 34. And he said to me, what really gets me is you go into a church, you're all excited, you want to help, you want to contribute, and they go, oh no, sorry, you haven't been on the committee. You're not on the committee. You haven't been a member for long enough. Nothing you can do. So the person loses interest and wanders off, you know.
Yeah.
It just doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't, you know.
No, I fully agree there. You do get some people who may volunteer for something where you suspect it may be beyond their abilities, but you don't just go no, or deflect them onto, oh, actually, we're all right there, but would you do this? You know, just get the measure of people.
Yeah. I mean, you really wouldn't let me loose in your kitchen with a tea towel. That is true. You wouldn't do that. But you might, no, you wouldn't.
Don't.
You might say to me, Jackie, go and sell the raffle tickets instead.
I've had mediums down here painting the outside of the church.
Yeah.
And people, we've got this thing about the Poole volunteer system.
Yeah.
But again, when we do this within our churches and centres, this is part of the community building. You know, because your congregation is that community first and foremost, and that community has roots and tentacles out into the wider community.
And also they can say, I did this in the church. I helped with that in the church. That makes it part of me. Yep. You know, and it is that contribution and giving. Yeah, so saying, well, how long have you been a member and what position are you on the committee? Well, I'm sorry, none. Go then. You know. Yeah. And this is my point. I think that we can be our own worst enemies. We really can. And yeah, there is health and safety and all the rest of it.
Definitely, yeah.
But come on, like you've just said, to be in charge of a tea towel or to be in charge of a raffle book, is it a big deal?
Yeah. And the fact that you ask people to do these things just starts to break down barriers even more, if there were any perceived. There's none from our side, but often, you know, you don't know how other people see you. And I know when I've asked some people if they would help on this, and they go, who, me? Really? And I'm like, yes. Is there something I should know?
Yeah.
But we've got a comment here from the lovely Anne-Marie Hogan.
Oh, yes.
And she's just saying, hi, Laurie and Jackie. I have a question, I think, for both of you. You're both presidents and do a lot of unseen work. Thank you both. Look out, she's after something, Jackie. You are both very different people, lovely people within the role of your presidencies. I think most people know my passion for philosophy and that being the soul of the service. My question to you both is, if you had one wish, magic wand, what would you wish for spirit in the spirit world and the spirit of this world?
Ooh.
I know.
That's a difficult one, isn't it? Because I don't have any wishes for the spirit world. I think they're very, very clued up on what they're doing, how to do it.
More so than us.
Yeah, maybe it would be that the knowledge that the spirit world are constantly at our sides, that we are always in their presence. For that knowledge to be out there for everybody.
Yeah.
And not just, those who are maybe mediumistic. But for spirit in this world, then my dream would be that we all know we are spirit here and now.
Yeah.
Because if we know that, we will then know you're not different from me, I'm not different from you. And so therefore there would be no hatred, no war, no racial abuse and things like that, because we would be recognizing each other from that spirit, not from the biological differences, if you will.
Yeah. Yeah.
But a great question, Anne-Marie. Well done.
Yeah. Thank you, Anne-Marie. I will join you in with that everybody realize we are all connected. No matter what flag we live under, the color of our skin, our gender, it doesn't matter. We are all connected. And this is getting proven more and more with all the discourse going on in the world. We are feeling that. We are part of that. And just imagine the world suddenly realizing, brother, sister, whatever. Wow.
And also to know that whatever word you call your God is absolutely fine, because it's only a word. And there is many lamps, but only one light, if you know what I mean. So, why do we fight over something that is a word, basically?
Yeah, very true. There's a beautiful reading by Carl Sagan, The Pale Blue Dot. And I love that reading because every time I use it, it has a totally different address, but the actual truth about it is look at the bigger picture. Why are you fighting? It really is. It's a wonderful, wonderful reading there.
If I can, sorry.
Yeah.
I say a lot. I've done a charity workshop for a church today, and it was teaching them mediumship. But I said, you know what? I don't think the spirit world care whether we know there is life after death or not.
Mm-hmm.
Because one day we will die from this world and find that truth. What I think their point is that once we know our loved ones are here, then we should know that we will survive death too. So they're asking us, what are you going to do with your life? What difference does that truth make to the life you're living? And if that knowledge isn't making us better people, we're in trouble.
Very true. Very true. Often I will introduce the evidential mediumship and say to people, you're here because you want to hear from somebody. But when you do hear from that person, what does that mean to you? Because the implications are profound.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And that's why I say spiritualism saved my life, because I was a very angry, very unhappy young girl, lost my parents, didn't know what to do with myself with all that grief. Spiritualism showed me the truth of their everlasting life, but also showed me the truth of who I really am.
Definitely. Definitely. There's a question here from Angela Foster. We do need to move from co-option to volunteer where people feel included enough to be able to volunteer.
No, absolutely. That's such a fact, because tell me if I'm not saying what I think you mean, Angela. But we do have, again, that the churches where they are very much closed shops, and if they don't know you or your face doesn't fit, you won't get in. You
Yeah.
know. So we have to find a way to make everybody included, not just your friends or the people you think fit a age bracket or whatever to be part of that, you know. But yeah, so from co-option, I don't know, but certainly we need to make people feel included. We really do. And I know there's a lot of places that don't do that.
Mm.
I see that in my inbox every day.
So, we talk about the challenges we face. One of the things, obviously, since 2020 is the eruption of virtual spiritualism in many, many guises, be it demonstrations, services, workshops, etc. It's suddenly, in 2019, somebody actually said to me in 2019, I was talking about the website and promoting the website, and they said, well, most people don't go on the net. I said, don't be silly. I said, half of my 80-year-olds play bingo online, we do pick a generalization at times and make it the fact. And it's sort of like, well, actually, if you look at that, it's not right. But there is this new frontier for us with the virtual world as well as our in-person. No matter if I ask a poll tonight of everybody watching, would you prefer in-person or virtual? It's probably going to be 60-40 for in-person, but that's just a candid snapshot of the time. But again, where we talk about reaching different generations, we are actually making that move. I've always said this saying in churches about how do we get more people in our churches? Well, actually, how do we reach out for more? And the virtual world offers such huge potential to be out there. These nights, our Lyceum nights, are hugely popular. People love this, being able just to talk, to ask questions, to hear other people's points of views, which is something we don't do too much within our churches and centres. So, and plus the comfort of your own home, plus the reach. We have people, she's in. So we've got a lady in from Malaya tonight. We've got people in from Denmark tonight. We've got people in from all up and down the country in tonight. So yeah, we've got this wonderful new opportunity. How do we use it? Please tell me.
It's proven to be both a blessing and a curse.
Yeah.
I want to take you further back, if I may. In the 1990s, there was probably late 80s, there was a wonderful lady who's passed away now called Vi Kipling. And she was passionate about bringing everything online.
Right.
Way back then.
Mm-hmm.
She was a fellow of the Spiritualist National Union. She was a very, very astute lady. And I can remember her standing up in the SNU AGM and saying, the spirit world want this now online. We have to move up. And everybody go, silly old lady, what you talking about? But because of her, we got SNUI, which was, as you know, the internet part of spiritualism. But then COVID hit and our churches were forced to close. So some started with this wonderful invention called Zoom. Problem is, as great as it is, and like you said, it's bringing people from all over the world. It's giving them the opportunity to be part of us. People who are disabled or can't get out, vulnerable for whatever reason. However, I also think to some extent it's in danger of making people more and more isolated.
Yeah.
Because they aren't coming into the church and interacting in a building with living people, if you will. Everything is colder. you know. Now, like you've just said, I'm talking to you. I'm in the comfort of my own home with my slippers on, and you
Snap.
know, yeah, exactly. So, and that's all good. I haven't had to go out in the dark and drive all the way down to the south coast to be part of this. But I don't think it makes up for actually being with people and just saying to them face to face, "How are you today?"
Mm,
You
very
know.
true. I look at the world in the wider sense here, and there seems to be so much that is designed to keep people isolated. Through, you can I can get a pizza delivered, I can get my grocery delivered, I can get a dentist to come around and see me now in my home. And yes, there is a convenience aspect. We can't be totally dismissive of it. But yes, you're right, because we are social creatures.
Mm.
And we need to remove this mantle of fear at times to be able to come back in and embrace. When the first lockdown finished, we reopened straight away here. And okay, I'm not blowing my trumpet, it's just what we did. And we had all the distancing in place, but we were full. I think we could hold something like 24 people then. We were full every time we opened because people had that desire, even amongst this, the fright, the shock of the pandemic. There was still that need, that gregarious need to be around their peers and around people that they can converse with. So, the internet, absolutely wonderful. There is this, we have quite a good duality here at Paul Church, how we use the net. So we have our talks here. Lovely Angela, who's in the room, is running a couple of training courses for us online. We stream our services live out for people to watch. But that never circumvents the actual joy of having so many people come to the church, the buzz, the chats, everything.
The interaction, because like you said, we are tribal people.
Mm.
We need to connect. Now, I can tell you this because there's only me and you online. Nobody else can hear me. So I can share this with you. Because I live alone. Now, during lockdown, it got that bad for me because I wasn't seeing anybody. My son would come and stand at the end of the garden to talk to me because he couldn't come any closer, because I have quite a difficult illness. And I was sat there talking to my son's photograph. And I would sit there for hours saying to him all the things I wanted to say to him, because he was at work and because he's a teacher and I couldn't phone him. And it got so excruciating. And all I wanted to do was to physically hold him or get into church and be around people again. So there has to be a way of what you've just said of integrating both, where we can have our churches with their services, but then, yes, stream it. I did a service for an American church, Salem First. And they do that. They have people go in, but then they stream it as well, So there has to be we can't put it back in the bottle. Zoom is out there. We have to live with it.
Yeah.
But there has to be a way of balancing it. Yeah.
This is it, and it's striving to find that balance, because we will provide things which are solely online. We have our shared services where, wrong fingers, there we go, there it is, little camera, where people can just see the platform. But the demonstrators do not work with the people online. I've seen some of these hybrid services, and I'm just a little bit wary of those, because the heart and soul is in the people who are actually physically here. So people at home can watch it, and that's incredibly popular. Also, people who may wonder what a spiritualist church looks like can actually see one or go back over them, because we've had amazing demonstrators here, and some of the philosophy has just been wow. You just sat there and gone, that's it, folks. You're not going to get any better than that. Let's go home now.
Absolutely, yeah.
Yeah.
But But we do have to find a way to make it work together. But also we have to not, well, there's a couple of things I think. First of all, churches won't survive with Zoom because people won't contribute like they will in person, I don't think. But also we get people in the congregation on Zoom, dare I say this, who forget that they can be seen. And we've had people, you know, in bed. We've had people take their iPad to the toilet. Why in the middle of giving a message to them, and so they go, "Oh yes, that is my granny," as I'm going to the loo, you know. So yeah, sometimes you want to go, do you know, we can all see you.
Yeah. I didn't have a loo. I've not had a loo one yet, but the worst one I think was the lady was laying down for whatever reason. Every time she shifted, the top was going down, and I'm like, I'm going to have to kick you out because any second now we're going to see far too much information. But and again, this is my favourite word. It's the potential that's in there. As a teaching aid, it's unsurpassed at times for the reach. But then again, we go back to the natural law of balance. We're seeing some things are being taught, and I'm like, I'm not quite sure. You know, to go get somebody into an altered state remotely, I'm not comfortable with that.
Well, neither am I. And I do think that there is a lot now where people aren't taught, but they are facilitated. So, you know, you give them an exercise, put them in a breakout room, bring them out, give them another exercise, and it's just, that's it. Whereas when you're face to face with them, you can see who's struggling, you can see who needs maybe a tweak with the exercise for them personally, then others can do a different part. You don't do that online. It's like, go on, you're in the breakout room. That's it. You know, not every teacher, I'm not making a blanket statement there, but it does happen, you know. You know, and when you're talking, I'm not saying the spirit world can't facilitate trance or the altered states. I just don't believe it's healthy for us to taking somebody into an altered state when they are alone at home with nobody to see how they are afterwards.
I've just had an image here of I don't drive through choice. And we're trying to learn how to drive a car on Zoom. And the picture I have, because I'm very visual up here, and it's a really good picture, but probably not the best. But I have this thing, I keep having these little prompts and little phases. That's just the way it works. And the current prompt is about the experiencing our religion, because we can have the knowledge, we can gain no end of knowledge. We've got the whole world in our hands now, literally. But we can have endless amounts of education, but without the actual experience of that. And I think this is something I keep pushing now with the people at Paul and saying, you know, you are part of an experience. You are not disassociated. You are not watching Netflix or Disney Plus. You are. This is all happening because of your presence. So immerse yourself and feel it. And actually, that's another way of we try to guide people on the path, on the journey, not to look for the end result, which is what everybody wants. I just want the end result. Well, that's no good, because the end result is made up of between here and there, not there. But I do feel we need to look more at the actual experience of a divine service or a demonstration. You know, you are talking to people, you would give your eye teeth to hold in your arms again.
Yeah.
How fantastic is that?
But this is it as well. We've lost that wow. We've lost that, this is a miracle happening. This is what, you know, people say can never happen, and it's happening in front of our eyes. We've lost it because it's too readily available. I mean,
Yep.
if you, I hate to be the one, I always said I would never do this, but I do. If we go back to the good old days, when, before we were recognized legally, you had to know somebody who knew somebody who was aware of somebody who was doing a demonstration in some obscure place because they were in danger of being put into prison. So therefore you valued it. You went along and you were in awe of it. Now it's like, oh, do I want to go to church tonight or shall I watch Strictly Come Dancing?
Yeah.
Well, what's the biggest pull for me? And we've just churned out people who take it for granted.
Agree.
And again, partly our fault, but I don't know what we can do about that.
Well, tomorrow is always the new day. Tomorrow is always the day that we can say, let's try this. Let's do this. Let's encourage this. Let's foster this.
Yeah.
Let's bring that in. And as I said to you earlier, I'm seeing some green shoots through social media feeds where people are being a bit more descriptive about the contents of a service or a demonstration. Churches having fundraisers to support other churches in their area. That was just like, wow.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, that case of we are not in competition with each other. We're all there for the same aim. So let's pull together, That really lifts my soul. It does. But something I'm trying to encourage churches to do, she says optimistically, is do what our pioneers did and have questions and answer nights. Nights where people aren't going to be told they're wrong because they don't agree with, silver birch or whatever, but allow them to come from where their understanding is at the minute.
Yeah.
And then grow through that conversation in a safe place. I've also got to remember that they are all volunteers in our churches and they give an awful lot. And I'm saying to them, give an extra night on day. I get it. And I sometimes forget that. I'd just love there to be more open-mindedness where people can embrace the free thinking instead of being so tunnel visioned.
Yeah. And looking at our service formats, as you brought up earlier, we do here occasionally, we'll have a Lyceum service. So instead of the philosophy, we have a demonstrator in who has got that knowledge of the history of one aspect of our movement, to start to get people to get a little bit more open-minded, healing only services. Next year, as I mentioned earlier, we're going to have a philosophy only service. We also have a family gathering, which is not a service. It's great fun, but it's built by the community. It's the people in the church getting up and talking. We've got one chap who was alive during the Second World War, and memories of them. But yeah, it would get just widen that perspective for people, widen that appeal. And sure, you are going to have people who don't like it. That's absolutely fine. We are all different. I always said, if I keep coming downstairs and the church is empty, then I will admit I'm wrong. Not until then.
But this is it, because the proof is in the pudding, isn't it?
Exactly.
Yeah, without a doubt.
A comment here from the lovely Jack over in Denmark, and was just referring as long as they're on mute when they went to the toilet. Some of the joys online. Thank you, Jack.
Yeah.
And Jamie Williamson, he says, I agree, spiritualism is experiential and it has to be felt and requires an emotional link.
Without doubt. And what are we talking about there, though, Jamie? Are we talking about the mediumistic aspect, the religious aspect, the philosophical aspect, or are we talking about the collective of people coming together and sharing in their grief, their joy, they're just being under the same umbrella, if you will. Because I do worry that the truth of what spiritualism is gets lost. And I think I said to you earlier, Lawrence, when people go, "Oh, you're a spiritualist, so you can give me a message off my mum." Well, no, because that's like saying you're a Catholic, so therefore you can do a, I don't know.
Last rites.
That's it. Yeah, absolutely.
If you carry on talking to me, I will be doing them.
You see, it is that, because I am a spiritualist.
Yeah.
I also happen to be a medium, but I am a spiritualist. That is my religion. That is my pathway in life. And that is what I want people to be able to celebrate, not just to think I've got to be a medium, or, but I can just be a spiritualist and be a good person within that.
Yeah, I agree. There's Jamie's response there. And he says the whole experience, it touches all aspects of our life and experience.
Fully agree, Jamie, absolutely. And it is to be experienced. I just think that on Zoom we don't always get that experience.
Yeah, this is true. And it is highlighting that with people as well, because this is often, people will miss that. We had just an amazing happening here. The demonstrator went to somebody, and it was a daughter coming through. But do you know what? People in the church had tears in their eyes because she was there. And I've done this thing about, don't forget, this is an experience. You can experience what this means.
Yeah.
And the spirit world must have been listening in and went, "Oh, okay, try this."
Yeah, let's show them.
Yeah.
Because it is, isn't it? And that's what I think I mean by we share in everybody's joy and everybody's grief, because we are there with them. And you can't do that on Zoom. Not knocking Zoom, it has its pluses. I get it. But, I still don't believe you can substitute it for the actual church.
No. And you can see, again, where some people tend to live on social media, which is always very unhealthy. If you had a pie chart of the world, and it's like social media is that part of the pie chart, but you're missing the rest of it because you're so focused on that little bit. And some of us, this is probably giving something away and might get me excommunicated from a lot of places. But some of us online mediums, we know people who sort of jump from room to room, and will. Actually, I had a contest last night with the fellow medium, and I said, I wonder whose room they're going to be in tonight, and they weren't in mine, so obviously they were in theirs. So it's just we're not being nasty. It's just
it is, isn't it? It's a fact of how it works. Yeah.
But this time with the virtual thing, I found absolutely fascinating. Is mediums can contact fellow mediums, whereas before we were all ships passing in the night. Oh, I can't come and see you working there because I'm working here, or whatever. So we never really had this other time. And because, and again, not bragging, with Paul Church, where we went online fairly quickly, Jack Eckhart and his lovely partner Lola have been over to Paul a few times because we met online. A week's time, we've got Frederick Hagland from Sweden, and he'll be here for a week taking the 5-day course. We have the spiritualism rally now once a year, where we have 4 speakers who will talk on various aspects of spiritualism. We've had Stevie Trollan down, Susan Brothwood Hughes, because we're meeting people and talking, and actually, you in Irving, blah, blah, blah. I can't leave Ewan out. His accent, it's like butter on hot crumpets. It's beautiful. We are able to talk and communicate. We would never have met. I'll be on, hand on heart. We would never have met before this time. Lovely Paul Jacobs, I would never have met him before this time. Tim Abbott, I would never have met him before this time. So, we have got this new resource amongst mediums, and it's wonderful to be able to talk to fellow mediums. And Jack gave me some feedback on the service the other night, so I've given up mediumship now. No, it's a lot. Apparently I was all right. we can actually now share our experiences and our thoughts within our peer groups, which has not been happening. And this I'm finding fascinating and potential for huge benefits.
Oh, absolutely. And again, it's not new, is it? Because our pioneers used to hold their rallies where mediums would come from different areas and have 2 days of philosophy and healing. And then we just started to get very insular. And then we started to stay in our own lane and not interact. And Zoom has opened that up, and I would agree with that. But I would still like people to visit the churches.
Definitely. You should, and it is, I know this is a horrible business saying, but it is use it or lose it.
Absolutely.
A lot of the churches, a lot of the centres are struggling because everything. I know I work out our total annual energy usage, water usage, get a rough idea of how much it costs to open up the church. And we've gone from £18 to £36.
It's a huge
open the doors.
Yeah. But also, we've got a lot of very old churches that need extensive repairs. And what really gets to me, and I have to say this, is when we say to the volunteers in these churches, put together a business plan and we'll consider lending you some money to fix the hole in your roof. If you told me to put a business plan together, I would die on the spot. I wouldn't know how to start, Let's start helping our volunteers, not putting them under pressure.
Yeah. I agree, and I see that irrespective of affiliation, up and down as a working medium. We go into other churches, other centres, and we do see that time and time again. And you're quite right. There should be, as I say, the mediums now have got this wonderful resource of being able to talk together in our peer groups. So maybe there's this opportunity for some virtual assistance or something. We've got that access, so let's use it.
Yeah. And let's keep that momentum of we are all one. We are not separate entities. We are all one,
Exactly.
So, and we're quite a minority as all one. So let's not destroy each other when there's plenty of people outside of spiritualism willing to do that to us.
Oh gosh, yes. Definitely. There's a question here just asking about many of the churches don't use online as they don't have the knowledge to do so.
That's right.
Is there somewhere where they may be able to get that assistance?
Well, I can only talk about my own organisation. We are rolling out in the new year for every SNU church that wants it, their own Facebook page, their own website, their own online, like email address at SNU. Yeah. And also we're negotiating with Zoom to get them their own Zoom link. And with all of that, they will get training on how to use it all.
Brilliant.
My son keeps saying you can't do it in one night, Mum, and I keep saying, why can't I?
I'm the same. Somebody said you can't turn a tanker overnight, and I'm like, why not? You should be able to. But yes, that's a really good thing to be able to do. And I'm not saying this because we're online and I'm after brownie points. I say this because we're fellow spiritualists. We've got a very good facility here at Paul. So if you want somewhere where people can come and get practical, please just shout. Because we do need to be online. And once we get online, we do need to have an understanding of the way that we promote and advertise ourselves, because quite often these simple one posts is not enough, because as you're seeing with the chat box there, they disappear. So there are other ways that we can manipulate and use that advertising to reach out more of the different groups. There's a lot. There is a lot.
We are churches full of volunteers, and we're expecting them to become tech experts overnight.
Yeah, what's wrong with that?
Well, I couldn't. I had to be trained. I had to be helped. So this is why I said to Kyle Pedley, our communications officer, how do we help our churches? And he came up with this package that he said we can offer that to every church, reasonably priced. They don't pay, we do, for them. And if they want it, he said, then we train them how to use it.
Yeah. I mean, if you volunteer at Pool, you're up on the roof putting tiles back. You've repainted the outside of the church. Oh, you've repaired the pebble dashes. Come to Pool, Jackie. Come to Pool. Bring your hard hat.
I'll come to Pool, Lawrence, as long as you don't put me in the kitchen doing anything.
No, I'll do. It'll be a tea towel free zone.
I am a disaster in the kitchen, I can promise you.
There's a question here from Margaret Challenger. And she's just saying, hi, Jackie. In the good old days, there were rallies with all the well-known mediums attending, Gordon Higginson, Harry Edwards, etc. Do you think these days would return?
How do I say this, Margaret? I would hope so. It would be a wish that that would return. However, gosh, I'm going to get shot for this. We have a lot more careerists than spiritualists. And now it's about how much can we pay them than them just turning up and doing it. I have encouraged a couple of churches in my DC to do rallies next year. But will it include big names? I doubt it.
Yeah. I get 100% what you're saying there. But then you are doing things like you've got the fabulous online open day coming up next weekend. 2 days, so how wonderful is that? And the access there to so many different speakers, demonstrators, practitioners is just amazing. Absolutely.
And our in-person open week in May, which was the first one since the pandemic, we were very fortunate that we had people like Tony Stockwell and Gordon Smith who offered their time for free, to promote the college. And that's wonderful. But the problem is with a lot of the others, it's how much are you going to give me to come and do that? Now, I'm the first one to say everybody should be valued.
Yeah.
And they need to earn a living. But sometimes I wonder.
Yeah, no, I do understand. But not only did you have Tony Stockwell and Gordon Smith there, I was there as well. Come on.
No, I completely missed that one. Sorry.
Jackie, thank you so much. You're an absolute delight. I must admit, I was slightly nervous before we started tonight.
Me too.
Oh, right. Okay. But it's been a wonderful night, a wonderful discussion. Thank you, everybody, for your input. Apologies, we didn't pick up on every input coming in tonight, but we were sticking to the source. And really interesting. A lot of things said there, a lot of interesting things there to take away and to work with and to make grow. As I said, potentials. Every day is a potential. Make the most of it.
But that potential isn't down to one person. It's got to be a collective effort. So everybody listening online, if spiritualism is your passion, contribute, join in and help us make this beautiful religion great again.
Yeah. And the truth and everything that just surpasses all understanding. Absolutely brilliant. Next Saturday evening, we have the lovely Frederick Hagland with us, who is down here at Poole taking a 5-day course. So he'll be our guest on the Lyceum night. So that's at 7 o'clock. In the meantime, don't forget, if you wish to view only a Spiritualist Church service, 11 o'clock on Sunday mornings. That is available on our Facebook pages and our YouTube channels. There are no login details because these are streamed live onto the pages. But in the meantime, Jackie, is there any final words you would like to say?
If you are a spiritualist, then accept the challenge, stand up and be counted, and get out there and tell people of a religion that can transform their life.
Definitely.
You don't have to be a medium. You don't have to be a healer. But if you are a spiritualist, tell people and tell them why. Be proud, stand up, and be a pioneer.
Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, being a spiritualist does not mean you have to be a medium. Being a spiritualist is just about living a good life. Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah.